Now let's try input quantization. Input quantization is the process of quantizing while you're actually playing your performance. There is a bit of an issue with it though. First of all, we need to make sure that we enable it. We focus on the note on instead of the note off for this type of performance, especially for drums because it's going to be quick anyway. The big issue is if we try to play anything beyond what our grid resolution is here, it won't get picked up, it'll get quantized. So if I try to play anything faster than a 16th note, it's going to get quantized. It won't actually accurately come through. It's going to get quantized straight off. Let's give it a whirl. All right, let's take a listen. So again, with input quantization, we're doing all of this stuff on the front end. Let's take a listen. So I think almost immediately you realize the big issue is that if we're going to do a lot, we have to essentially be pretty solid with input quantization. So let's try it again. I'm going to focus on being nice and straight and accurate. This should hopefully come out, because that time I was just trying to show off all the what happens when you go too fast using a 16th note. And let's just give it a whirl with focusing on being at least at the 16th note or less. All right, let's listen back. All right, now let's try more of a quarter note quantization. This is going to get us a very straight flow. Let's try it. All right, let's take a listen. Now, you can see that this could be problematic in another way. That one is a lot better and is a lot straighter because it was including things that were a little bit more in line with the drum rhythms. But the biggest issue is everybody, and I mean everybody, if you go zoom in, is falling at the same spot at the same time. So like if you're playing piano, even if you're playing drums, that's actually not exactly how we want it to sound. We want a little bit of a difference between parts as they're landing. So the couple things that we can do with this is there are a few options that are really helpful. One of those is randomizing, and we can randomize like what gets quantized. The other one is we could include a little bit of swing, which allows the grid focus to be a little more loose, or we can actually just exclude a certain amount, meaning if it's outside of 15% or inside of 15%, it won't get moved to the nearest grid. And the other thing is we could use a strength percentage, and this one's kind of nice because it's easy. You don't have to really think about too much math. You just say, instead of input quantizing at 100%, let's maybe go to like 70, and which means it's going to be kind of accurate but not completely, and just enough to give us a little bit more feel, so not everybody's stuck on the same grid and it gets too boring. So let's give it a whirl. Now let's take a listen back. So the only downside to kind of like, and actually that actually really didn't work at all very well, is that once we started to kind of exclude a couple things, we started to see some kind of like ghosting of some of these notes, where everybody's kind of just off. You could see them; they're not all straight in line, and it makes them kind of everything got flammy, in that performance. And so there's a lot of variables where we can use this. Sometimes this can be problematic. Sometimes I feel like I almost never end up using input quantize. Unless I'm going to be playing something that I know is going to be pretty locked in during the recording process, or maybe something that's going to be limited to, more straight notes and not as much swing or even triplets. And once I put triplets in the mix, it makes it really complicated. But there's input quantization.